Is that okay? I'm not doing anything. I'm just making this bigger.
Yeah, because I can't read that at all. And I need to be able to see that. So do you. So now make the screen mega big. You know, pull it wider.
I know. This is too big.
All right, well, I am ready when you are. What's the name of that? Unifyingvoices.world?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ready?
Jesus fucking Christ. Yes.
Namaste, beloved ones, and thank you for being here now. I am a wisdom teacher, Sri Ramka.
And I am Master Lady Kira Ra, and welcome to this extraordinary moment. Not only for us together right now, but for all of humanity. You know, this is such a big moment. The energy is so big that Sri and I popped up here into our studio just so that you could experience the energy of what's happening. And we're going to be sharing all this with you as well. So you want to kind of sit down, grab your favorite yummy beverage, because really, we are in a full moon up-level moment that is a crystalline, and the word that you got to use is renaissance. It's really like a renaissance moment. And to do this over the next 60 days, remember, this cycle is February 16 through April 16. Whew, let's feel into the 0 point energy as that Taurus field of creation, because it's a big one and we have a lot to share. Now, you know, Sri, before we go any further, for those of you that are just joining us here at Sri and Kira for the first time, the voice of passionate action, please know that over in the chat at YouTube, so if you're catching us live, this would be if we're live, if you're catching us live, which is Sundays, noon Eastern time every week, get into that live chat. Jess Juntanen is in there, Sue Sturdivant is in there, Dana Fanador is in there, Kyla might be in there, I think she's over at Clinical Linda right now. But Jess is also championing your questions. So as Sri and I share information during this show today, as you hear things, if you have any questions, please put them right there in the chat at YouTube, and Jess is going to be getting them live to Sri and I. Please remember, we do not monitor the chat so that we can be in this flow with you right here. So I wanted to share that, Sri. I thought that was pretty exciting right at the beginning as we're adapting to this new format.
Absolutely. And beloved ones, let's take a moment and be together.
Yes.
It's important to recognize that time and space are illusions that we've adapted our sensory system to conform to. In reality, everything is connected, and we are connected together right now. Let's relax into that through our breath. I invite you to hold in your consciousness. I recognize the divine. Ave, Ave on the inhale. Sa on the exhale. To surrender to that divine energy. Let's do that again. Yes. 2 more times. Here we go. Ave, Sa. Ave, Sa. And as we relax together in our own heart centers, we are available for the connection to be conscious. We are available for our intuition to have a place to guide us. This is the foundation of the ascended state of being, right here, and you all have one. We all have the same foundation. So keep breathing into your heart as we share more about the energy of this time.
Oh my goodness gracious. And as you're breathing into that, I do want to go back. Sri, can we put up the unifying voices that we had on right when we were coming on? For those of you that were waiting for us to come on today, you probably saw this amazing graphic, compliments of Jess Jutanen's amazing artistry. And guys, this is massive. What is happening in March is becoming outrageous. The elders are coming from all over the world. And just 2 days ago, Ecuador relaxed. You no longer need a vaccine to enter the country. You just need a negative PCR. So even more elders are going to be here live now. So please make a note. Write down this website, Unifying Voices. That's it, unifyingvoices.world, unifyingvoices.world, or get to shrinkara.com. register, be there. This is a moment of extraordinary unity. And Shri, I just want everyone to know about that. And make sure you get to unifyingvoices.world or over to shriandkira.com and learn more about what's happening in March. And, before we go any further, and before I forget, because I will forget, I mentioned that Jess created that amazing graphic. Well, many of you know that Jess is the president of Avesa International, and that is our worldwide organization that is bringing these 1,800 Avesa centers globally that will have these wonderful little movie theaters in them and these fabulous little restaurants and great places to receive the treatment of light or sit in an Avesa oasis and just remember who you are. And Jess needs help. And so she does have available, this is a salaried position, full-time or part-time, to really assist Jess with this mission. It does require a lot of those good old-fashioned administration skills that we all need to have as well. So if you have any interest in that, please, Jess is actually in the chat right now, go ahead over and say, hey, yeah, or send an email. And just send that email to support@selfascension.com or go over to Facebook, official Shri and Kira over there at Facebook, and put in a message. But this is, the Avesa International is growing. Our foundation is growing. And we are looking for those of you that are aligned in this consciousness to say, yeah, I'd like to be part of that team. So just want to let you know we have an amazing opening available. So Jess, I remembered. There we go. All right.
And so, beloved ones, unifyingvoices.world is where you want to keep checking back as we expand the website to tell you, to share with you what's going on at the equinox in March. The 18th through the 20th of March is a grand gathering here at Tosa Blue Mountain in Ecuador. And not only will these representatives, these lineage holders,
all the tribes, all the world,
it's also about you. It's about connecting with you via Zoom, via being here if you can come. But the key is that we are unifying our heart-anchored voices and discovering more fully the oneness that is represented through all of us.
Oh, what a gift. And so, again, unifyingvoices.world or over at shriandkira.com, you'll find it as well. And Shri, it is, what I'm loving is that this is coming right in the middle of the energy that we're talking about this week. So, let's just get right down to it. The first thing is we have to remember that we are still coming out of, remember, it'll be on the 16th when that full moon energy, and we are already in that 3-day, today's the 13th, so we're already in that kind of beautiful waxing moment into this extraordinary crystalline first of two crystalline full moons. However, this is that moment. We have been walking through the first up-level full moon experience as can humanity survive dogma? Are we ready to move through this? And every month we are publishing articles that by the end of this year will really be a stepping stone of mastery presence for all of the energetic experiences that are coming in with, remember, 12 in a row full moon up-level experiences. So you're already you feel it. Last week was very much a week of clearing, a very much cleansing. Very much for us, it was about putting your house in order, clearing out even, people and ways. I rearranged some of the things in our house, revisiting some physicality symptoms, right? It was about, did you get it all cleared out? Because right now, and I'm going to go ahead and share with you, because Shri and I always have this here, our beautiful lit white candle. And so remember that in this moment right now, we are waxing into this profound energy through that final moment of where all the dogmas around you, where everything's coming in around you, opening up into the energy of, is humanity ready? Is humanity ready for alchemical transformation? And I want you to really breathe that in, because if you go to shriandkira.com and what is self-ascension, and you go to that tab, you're going to see the alchemical transformation. All the symbols are there. And so it's really transiting from that dogma, which I encourage you to get to shriandkira.com and read the article. If you haven't caught up with the January article, read it now, because the February is going to post as soon as this show is over. And if you haven't read January, when you get there, read it first. Try to stay in the flow with this, because it's powerful.
I want to speak just for a moment about that word dogma.
Yeah.
Because I think people, words have connotations, and so we have conventions of how we respond to a word. Dogma is not just about religion. Dogma is an accepted belief or system that would limit your perception or your behavior. So consider for a moment, there's lots of dogmas out in our world. In Western society, sometimes we call them laws, the laws of how you're to behave. And of course, when it comes to the metaphysical world, the spiritual world, there are lots of dogmatic beliefs that are accepted conventions of how reality is, what we should believe, what we should do. Now, here's the thing that I want to offer to you. We're at a time of awakening. We awaken through the constrictions. We awaken through the friction. We awaken through the limitations that we had swallowed or accepted.
Yeah.
So consider that the responsibility, the ability to respond, resides with each one of us.
Right?
There is nothing in the outer world that will steal your freedom. It's only what you've given your power to. So hang out with that for a moment.
Yeah, breathe that in.
What have I given power to that I am now feeling confined by? And so one of the first things that happens in this awakening process, and it's very common for people to go, okay, there's something out there that I need to oppose. Freedom is not about opposition. Although opposition helps the mind get clear sometimes of what choices we want to make, all right? So everything has a purpose. Everything serves. But the key here, can humanity survive dogma? This is about, can humanity find its heart and empower its mastery to present itself in a wholesome, balanced, connected fashion. It's not about being in opposition to anything. It's about being that which we are. And in that beingness, we find our alignments, we find our service, we live our mission, and joy becomes the everyday birthright. So to survive dogma really is an inside job saying, I choose to trust my higher nature.
There it is. I choose to trust my higher being, my higher nature, that which
my mastery.
I am. And this is the perfect segue into what's happening in February. And Shri, let's go ahead and put up just the February, the 2022 energy cycle. Okay. This is really important to notice. So as you're gazing at this, and as you know, this is literally the energy cycle of 2022. And this is that experience of the Sea of Neutrality under the command of the full moon ignitions. And these full moon ignitions are very much, the way I keep describing it is, it's like being in a bell. It's like sitting in this bell, and every month you're getting a boom, and it's like, and every month it reverberates a little bigger and it gets a little grander. Now, as you're staring at this right now, here's what's important to understand. That as you're gazing right at the center, I want you to look at that pyramid. It's the pyramid within the pyramid, right? As you're gazing at that and you see that formless form in the middle that's kind of disintegrating, right? What's happening is that right now, in this February, this full crystalline moon is rising and will not only... You're in the bell. This month, that energy is sustaining. It's not like you get the bell and then it wanes. No. Not only is it going to sustain, meaning it's not going to have any waning at all. In March, right at the moment, right at the equinox moment, it's going to hit again, amplifying what started right now. And so what's happening is that with the arrival of the February 16, this week, this Wednesday, the February 16, 2022 full crystalline moon up level, and I mean just really fill that in, right? And as you're feeling that, I'm going to go ahead and share with you right here, I guess is where I do this, okay? I want to share with you right now, that is what we look like this month. So as we come forward, the commanding energy of this cycle of ascended presence, beginning with that full moon arrival on the 16th, is placing humanity fully into the choice of alchemical transformation. And you see what happens. If you notice down at the bottom, now this is, if you own the up-level calendar, this is the background for February. This is February's specific energy. And you see that there is a huge golden violet moon presence that is heavily affected by this crystalline radiation. That is the divine feminine amplitude. Remember that for those, that alchemical transformation, and it is the choice, remember we're not that month of choice, the experience of heightened states of consciousness that is directly tied to the perception of that which is what this month is all about. And that isness is going to expand through the manifestation before you. And I want you to really breathe that in, because it brings us to our background, right? What you're seeing here is you as the self, as that 0 point generator inside that torus field of co-creation. And it ignites a memory that, let's see, I think here it is. And this, I want you to just notice this graphic. Now, this is the graphic that is the best I can do in helping to explain what's happening this week. You are literally staring at yourself this week, if you allow it. Because remember that, 2022 in and of itself is all about the energy flow of creation, literally wholly, as your divine mastery presence integration. So if you're listening to this show, if you're here now, you're conscious of this integration, which is an expansion beyond the brain of this world. And that's what I'm trying to show you in this graphic. It is a welcoming of the full acceptance of that which I am. It is that universal smile that remembers I am all. It is the gift of the release of judgment that binds us to the realms of cyclical density. It is the moment that the fully opened eye of the universe welcomes all into the full presence of I am. And so what you're staring at is the alchemical transformation. It is remembering, because it's a remembering, that you are the pyramid, within the torus field of divine creation, the you fully realized as the 0 point generator of the law of instantaneous manifestation, that which is.
Wow.
Right, let's breathe that in.
Wow.
That's happening. You're in that right now.
So often we get so filled with our routine perception, sensing something's going on, but not fully being available to discern it.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things that Master Lady Kira Ra brings forward is the opportunity to look deeper, the opportunity to trust more fully, the opportunity to recognize that we are energy.
Yes.
All is energy, and consciousness intersects with energy, creating the beauty that we recognize as this life.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of recognizing as this life, I want to share with you again that you're here and you're receiving this information and you're open to it and you're feeling that. This is the constant well of the law of instantaneous manifestation, which is what this moment is all about. And it is really important to remember that for those who are not consciously aware of what's going on, of this energetic shift, of this crystalline harmonic that is this is a February 16 through April 16 ignition, right? So for those who are not consciously calling that in and consciously spinning with it and expanding beyond the limitation of dogma, what's happening right now is that the awareness for them of separation in all of its aspects will also take center stage. So for right now, between February 16 and April 16, you're in this beautiful anchoring of divine mastery, presence, co-creation, alchemical transformation, going beyond the dogma from that first gong of the bell into this gong of the bell that says, yes, the alchemical transformation is happening and I'm embracing that. And you're going to see that happen in every aspect of you, physical, mental, spiritual, I mean, all of it, right? But for those who are not aware of that, what they will see in their own experience, again, is the expansion of all aspects of separation. And all of this is center stage through April 16, when it goes into an extraordinary moment, because for the first time ever in our consciousness expanding experience, on April 16, we will rise the full heart moon. How that heart comes forward is what these days are about. And remember that these days are very much a pyramid, and the center of that is the March equinox. We are building to that March equinox, and it goes back to where we began today. You have got to be there one way or another. Help us get the word out to the world. Help us know more beings to be part of this experience. This one is important because we are at this moment. What are we creating? It's happening. And in the words of the beloved Krishnamurti, it is when you are aware that you are responsible.
Yes.
And so what are you doing about it? What are you ready to do that says, I am the law of instantaneous manifestation, ready to generate on behalf of the all? So, breathe that one in, right?
And as we breathe in, I am.
Yes.
I am. In the truth of your essence, as you anchor, even if it's temporarily, hopefully longer, but touch it, know it, get acquainted with that divine peace, that peace of I am. Because in that moment, you offset 100,000 other beings.
At minimum.
That's the minimum, true.
At minimum, yeah.
100,000 other beings who are living in a fear-based reality,
exactly.
Contributing to a less enhancive cycle on the planet.
Yes.
So the key is the more of us that just reside in the truth of our being, the natural effect is one of beauty and influence in a healthy, wholesome way.
Exactly.
Our shared reality.
You know, I want to, we've got questions, we've got quite a few questions coming in from the audience, and I want to share with one, because the blessing of the Sea of Neutrality, that is also part of what's happening through this February 16 through April 16 moment, the blessing of the rising of the Sea of Neutrality, the fact that it's here, the fact that we're talking about it, the fact that the entire energy of 2022 is about the Sea of Neutrality cannot be ever overstated. This is so important. The very presence is a miracle because it means we've arrived. It means to have called forward our conscious awareness. It's that invitation of expansion. And what it means is that, and I love that this question just came in that I'm going to go to in a moment, especially starting this week, because it's this week, that we have this invitation, and it's an invitation of the expansion of our co-creative capacities. I'm talking about our ability to create it all. It's back to this, right? To exceed the boundaries of dogma, to go outside of it, to really take the Einstein approach, to find that solution from outside that which has created it. But in order to do that, we have to go outside the dogmas, and that's where the unification of the masculine and the feminine is so important, and you really need to read the February article. Just get to ShriandKira.com within an hour of this broadcast and read it. Because what's happening is that through this moment, and Shri talked about it earlier, as those dogmas are releasing, as we're moving into this moment of alchemical transformation, that's the invitation. It's the invitation to move through the dogmas into the active alchemical process of inspired transformation of consciousness at its core. At its core. And so I'm starting with this question, Shri, that just says, what is the relationship between the Ukrainian-Russian crisis and the Ascension escalator? Everything. And that's why I wanted to open with the Sea of Neutrality. Remember that 2015 through 2021 was the Ascension escalator. And we put up that 7 polarities chart many, many, many times. I don't know if we have it still available to show you today, but if we do, we'll put it up. But the chart of the 7 polarities clearly showed that humanity, there it is, it's up. So the 7 polarities of free will experienced during the time of the Ascension Escalator, for those of you that may not understand that question fully, and the Ascension Escalator was a rapid moment of conscious expansion of consciousness itself that began in 2015 through 2021 with the recognition that the forces of destruction and density would be escalating fear, and the forces of the co-creation through our self-ascension would be escalating trust. And when we look at 2015 through 2021, we say, okay, at 2021, these were the opportunities. We would be at the crown chakra of our moment of humanity's conscious expansion. And so we see that it's a choice between lack and abundance.
Yes.
And so the choice between lack and abundance is the abundance of our divine consciousness expanding to have ignited the Sea of Neutrality by enough of us becoming the 0 point generator through a torus field of co-creative energy through the law of instantaneous manifestation. This quote unquote crisis, because in all crisis is opportunity, right?
Yes.
Is the extreme dance that is seeking to anchor fear or trust. And this does not mean that there are not active energies at play. But the gift is that this is one of those moments. And again, between February 16, I love that this question's coming in today. This is going to play out between February 16 and April 16. And the gift of the Sea of Neutrality is to sustain the consciousness enough that the conscious awareness of all beings in density has the balance and the opportunity to ignite an energy that, remember, on April 16, humanity will for the first time ever be looking at the heart moon. And it will be a rising, illuminated, up-level heart moon that will be the sum experience of all perception of conflict that is within and around. So a fabulous way to open with our questions today, Sri.
And it's important to remember the energies that were identified in that chart we shared, the 7 polarity energies. All of those energies are available now. It isn't that they were limited to one year or another. It was what was more likely to be emphasized during that time as we lift up of the chakra system and the associated dysfunctional expressions of the chakra energies.
Yeah.
So what's before us is an opportunity to continue to trust our inner nature and to radiate that energy out, as opposed to dance with the artifacts of fear that are represented in the physical world.
Now, breathe that in, because this is, again, you really want to go read that article within an hour of this live broadcast, that it is through the acceptance of our collective allness that is actually the first gift that is arising from the Sea of Neutrality. The Sea of Neutrality, its appearance is a miracle, and then the gifts that it's showering us with will continue. But that first one, the one that we're able to harvest right now, is the acceptance of our allness as the gift. It is right now, between February 16 and April 16, you are being gifted, and it's a gift, with the opportunity to honestly embody, align, and live the experience of forgive them, they know not what they do. Love them, they know not what they do. Through that remembrance, we sincerely get to see through the limitless smile, right? The eternal presence of all that is.
Yes.
We become the reawakened master in form, sustaining the balance through being in the constant field that goes beyond the limitation and sustains all that is. And so I really want you to breathe that in, because I'm going to go to, we have quite a few more questions here. I want to jump to one that says, this is from Mona. Hi, Mona. This call feels like an energetic transmission. Incredible energy. Well, I wanted to share with you that, yes, When Shri and I were invited to step away from interfacing too much with the public in 2022 and to really only interface with those who are with us at Monday Magic or through the year-long Divine Mastery Presence program, this experience right now was called forward as a weekly public service in our commitment to, we've got you. We're linking arms every weekend and every day. And so this is an energetic transmission. That's why we ran up to the studio today, because it's an opportunity for you to be free in this moment, to remember who you are. Yes. Come back and connect with the show often and go deeper. Read the articles. Be there for March. Get into Monday Magic. Be there.
And tune into the chat as well,
yes,
because what community. I know about this beautiful community,
oh my gosh.
We're all here to share the love. We're all here to support each other, to expand through our own fear-based limitations. And it's not about saying, I need to identify them. It's about saying, I need to trust that which I am.
Trust or fear, right? Those are the two polarities.
And as we trust that which we are, only love expands, only beauty comes forward. Our creative impulses get ever more present. The inspiration is there. And this is the very nature of the earth that we all really want to collaborate with.
Well, and I want to go to, we have a couple more questions that I want to bring up. One of the next one, really beautiful. This is from Bhatya. Hey, Bhatya. She said, I just have one question. How is walking up Tosa Blue Mountain to the temple elevation of 8,000 feet above sea level easier to do than walking 3 laps around my local track? And she lives in New York City, so it's at sea level. Bhatya, it's because of your divine mastery presence. And this is where, Shri and I look at all the beautiful beings that come here all the time. This is why reverse aging happens here. This is why people come here and suddenly are inspired and start, gosh, I hadn't put that together before. My lungs feel better. I feel better. When the mastery presence is fully ignited within, the body responds. Yeah. And when the mastery presence is quietly sitting, the body takes over. And so the body is a habitual experience of this illusion of form. So when the body is in charge, that's when we're more aware of things like our pain, our emotions, density. We're affected. We feel overwhelmed. We feel tired. And when the mastery presence is fully ignited and sustained through all of the experience, which is the blessing of coming to Tosa Blue Mountain, you're living in 24/7 eucalyptus pine infused air. You're living in a place where everything keeps rebirthing. You're living with all of these sacred energies where we live on a quartz mountain. That's why all of our rocks are blue, because there's veins of quartz running through them. So it's easier because literally you are lighter.
Yes.
Through that connection. Did you want to add to that?
Oh, no, I'm just celebrating.
Yes.
It's a beautiful observation, Bhatya, that you're sharing. And that reminds all of us that we must choose to connect with our essence in order to activate the healing, the resurrection potential, and the truth of our infinite nature while having our density dance. If we forget that connection, then we're in the density dance, and we're in the dance of fear and deterioration, because that's the norm. And we're in that, invested in that, until we wake up and choose differently.
There it is. Until we wake up and choose differently. Now, I want to, Shri, we have the February up level calendar here, don't we? Yeah. I'm going to bring that up as I move to this next question, which is from Carrie. Hey, Carrie, or Carrie Ann, forgive me. And Carrie's saying, okay, I have a question regarding the February Ascension energies. Are we in an awareness, experience, or choice month? Well, first of all, Carrie, please go get the up level calendar, please, honey. And your nominal donation supports the Clinic Linda, where we've got people have been lining up all weekend. And you will see that every month, right at the top, we put what the monthly energy is. Now, let's first remember that the entire year 2022 is actually, oops, Shri, would you help me? I was trying to go to another. I don't know what I just did. We have 2 screens my husband has open. And here, this should do it. There you go.
There we go.
Okay?
Cool.
And I just accidentally hit one. Okay, so when you're staring at the February 2022, I wanted, if you would please bring that back up to the beginning, this one over here. I don't want to touch anything again. All right, there we go. Remember that right now, we are in a choice month. So February is a choice month, which is also the culmination of the cycle of ascension experience, meaning that ascended presence always moves as awareness, experience, and choice. So the January experience, just for this month, is what is before us in this choice experience right now. However, 2022 itself is an awareness year. And this is important to remember because everything is making you more masterful. And you see at the top of the whole month energy that it's that law of instantaneous manifestation arising and anchoring. That's this full moon. That's our background when we stop this share. That is the anchoring. How is it anchoring? Through your steadfast commitment to illuminating that divine mastery presence. Now, if you gaze behind the letters and the numbers here, you see this was that crystalline activation that we were showing you earlier, because February is a choice month. March, we begin its awareness. And then, of course, we can go back to live now. So we have the choice of February, the awareness of March, and then that experience of April when this cycle of these crystalline moons is culminating. Remember that right now we just are opening up from February 16 to April 16. So all of these energies are moving together. And it's actually the way that the commanding of the energy of the ascended presence, beginning with this February 16 full crystalline moon up level, it's that cycle, the fact that it's coming in as part of this choice awareness experience that is really placing humanity fully into the choice of alchemical transformation. So a really big question and a really big moment. And Shri, all right, we have another question that came in, and I think this is a really important one. Namaste, beloved one. I see your name, and so I get it. It's a pun on bullshit. They're calling themselves Burrito Sabanero, BS. So, sweetheart, first thing I'm going to ask you to do is remove all the sarcasm and to really give yourself the gift of breathing freely, because your question is really important and it deserves the love and presence of you, which is, how do I trust myself? And I really honor and respect that question. And Shri, would you put up this one, the Merkaba of 2022? Because that's really the place to begin. How do you trust yourself? By first inviting yourself into the state of peace, love, and joy as Shanti, Bhakti, and Nanda, by inviting into you now the presence of the infinite truth that you are through the ignition of the Merkaba of Self-Ascension.
Now, let's explore this a little further. Let me go back to the camera.
Because that energy, co-creative power, and momentum is yours to harness and trust outside of that fear.
For most of us, to learn to trust ourselves, to learn to trust our divine nature, means we have to walk through the woods.
Yes.
You know, there is this
frequently
this forest of dysfunctional patterns that we learn through trauma. We learned it through our culture, our religion of origin, our family of origin, and so we all start this journey with some similar impediments, which is, how do I sift the BS from what is true? How do I find that? And the more we look out there
it is.
The more we will be deceived, because out there is constantly changing. The rules change, people's behaviors change, the institutions have new priorities, etc. You know the drill.
And they fight and resist expansion. Remember, Shri's using words of density, words like change, and all these other things he's saying. So as you're witnessing that and he's helping you to feel that, I'm inviting you to also notice that from your mastery presence as you witness change, how does that affect forgive them, they know not what they do, holding open the Sea of Neutrality that brings us into this moment.
So one of the gateways to your freedom is to begin to detach from the experiencer who is being bombarded by all of these beliefs and patterns that you swallowed because there was no alternative when you were young.
Dogma?
Dogma.
There it is. Can you survive dogma?
and all of the rituals and all the stuff.
Habits.
So life is an evolutionary journey.
Yes.
It's not, I mean, you're not the same as you were when you were 5 years old, let alone 15 years old. So we are in an evolutionary process. And the key is to begin to recognize that, hey, wait a minute, I'm still here. I have survived. I can trust my instincts. Now let me hone them by detaching from the absorption with the drama. Therein is one of the gateways of freedom, to be able to witness life rather than drown in it.
And this brings us right to February as well, because through that release of the dogmas, which is what we've been working with, into this moving into the acceptance of the alchemical transformation, we let go of this victim, rescuer, abuser cycle. Remember that, spiritualized ego, do we have a pyramid of spiritual awakening here that we can show? The spiritualized ego is the single most dangerous experience because it is in itself, there it is, beautiful, the polarity. Now what you're gazing at here is the pyramid of spiritual awakening experience as you lift through multidimensional consciousness. And if you look at the bottom there, it says density consciousness, and you notice that there's this huge flare of ignition, the awakening, the allness. And oftentimes, and you'll see if you look right below that first line, it looks like a big golden ignition, and it's like you're standing there because it's your heart that opens, that spreads your wings, that pops you into that second experience. And that second experience has the biggest entrapment. See the big loop? Whereas in density, you can swing widely, have your heart open, and be hovering in that third, fourth dimensional experience forever. That's why many people recycle. But when you jump into spiritual activism, which only your heart can lift you into, it's actually the single greatest trap.
Now, spiritual activism is that place where the heart is beginning to wake up, and we're seeing that we want to improve the world, and we want to shift things, or we're wanting more people to join our club, whatever that might be. And so activism is very much rooted in a sense of judgment, that it should be different, and it's very much rooted in a focus on the outer world. So activism in its own right is an evolutionary step forward.
Because it takes us from me to we. So it's a huge growth, and that's why it demands that the heart open. But I want you to look right up at the boundary of it, or the limit, or the perception of what it is, because right at the top of that spiritual activism, you see that next level there is illuminated by your arms opening, your heart and your body form dissolving as you become ascension awareness. This is where we lift outside of the we and the need for all to believe one way. It's like you move from it's all about me to it's about we, but there's an activism and an ego that sustains and keeps and entraps. And it is only when the ego can fall at the feet of itself, see the constant need to explain, the constant need to blame, the constant need to always look at others. This is the most sophisticated experience of spiritual activism. It is that spiritualized ego that stops you from ever fully illuminating beyond the fifth dimensional experience. Because the fifth dimensional experience always has judgments remaining. You've lifted into a greater sense of perception, but frequently the spiritualized ego loves the fifth dimension and will stay there forever. Archangel Zadkiel calls it the waiting room. But if you gaze right up from spiritual activism and you see that big ignition and that big pop, and you see where the ascension awareness has that beautiful, beautiful sunrise, that beautiful harmonic there that then opens the greater golden portals behind it, that's the release of judgment. And that's when we release all judgment, beginning, of course, with the judgment of self, through the surrender of the ego that lifts us into that open eye at the top, which is ascension consciousness. And so, how do we trust ourselves? By allowing the divine mastery presence to fully ignite so that the ego can trust you enough to say, okay, that first, second, and third chakra of the physical body are going to stabilize into peace, love, and joy. My ascended heart is ignited into my ascended presence, thereby all that I am receiving is always creating.
Beautiful, beautiful. There's more questions that have
Wonderful.
come forward. And following this earlier conversation, Angel of Cups writes about trust. Does this mean I should allow people that have harmed me to be in my life?
So, no. It does not mean that, but it does not mean that either. And this is a really important discernment. Remember that for most people, even the energy of love is out of balance, and the energy of love is completely disempowered. I'll give you a great example. When you get to the moment of mastery, you realize that you can honestly say thank you, because every being in your life has supported you to be who you are now. And the release of victim consciousness is knowing that you have zero obligation to keep people in your life that have harmed you. And to know that true forgiveness begins with the forgiveness of the self that releases the judgment, that frees you to say with all sincerity, love, and presence, thank you for doing everything that you did exactly as you did so that I am able to be.
Yes.
It is the release of that harm energy, even carrying the word harm and believing you have been harmed. That's the greatest gift you can ever claim.
Now, there's a process here. We're in Earth School, right? So,
well, your process, I think we should give them.
Yes. Well, there's part of the recognition is that all of these experiences and imprints and trauma imprints are there as like the gymnasium for your mastery to grow through.
Yes.
And so when people that are operating at a different level of consciousness, because the whole thing about harm and injury reflects a level of consciousness.
Exactly. Victim consciousness.
And there's very many people that are anchored in that place where repetitive harm or injury or misunderstanding is their nature.
Right.
So why would you want to expose yourself further to that? Sometimes it's kinder to love from afar.
And that means you're loving yourself enough to know that. There are people that I have known that, for example, wanting to be close to me would not be kind to them.
Yes.
And so remember, are you wearing the crown of the benevolent king queen that sees all through the Sea of Neutrality and the highest service? Or is the emotional body still walking, because the emotional body only can be in victim consciousness? It is the consciousness of this realm of density. So if you don't know any of that, go to our website, ShriandKara.com. Seriously, guys. Down at the bottom where the search is, type in triggers. Read our 3 articles. There was a series we put out several years ago that's really important. Please find those 3 articles and read them as well. All right, Shri, what are their other questions?
Well, let's see. Carol writes, I've been doing inner meditation, healing, removing toxins from the diet. Could you give me any ideas on how I could fight viruses better? I had it looks like coronavirus year last March, and it left me low.
Well, we understand. Shri and I just finished having a COVID experience ourselves. And what was fascinating for me was witnessing a 2-day relapse of some symptomology that really offered an added bonus for Shri and I. And the one thing that we will share with you is, number one, it's about your consciousness. Our pharmacopoeia was our consciousness, and it's really about being careful and wise about what you're putting into your consciousness every day. What are you feeding yourself with? The blessing of the COVID experience is that it gives you an opportunity to really call in even greater massive amounts of consciousness, which is why we did a whole show about it. And so number one is, how are you loving you? Are you surrounding yourself with, I would have my headset in and listening to music that made me dance all day, or made me sing, or made me laugh, or made me feel better. Or I never forgot that I enjoyed working out every day, and it was a couple weeks before I could get back on that treadmill again. But I never let go of constantly having that in my consciousness, knowing that I was still in my bed or sitting in a tub. And that would be the next thing, Shri. I think the Epsom salt and the oils
two more
was really
tips
beneficial.
That universal for everyone.
Yeah.
One of them is that all forms of, quote, illness are a call for love.
Yes.
Consciousness and love are hand in hand, are they not? And so there's a part of the body, whether it's the respiratory system or the sinuses or whatever it was, that is saying, hey, I could use some more energy and love to walk through this experience. And so when we recontextualize that we are not afflicted, we are walking through an experience, and we offer breath and love and acceptance to our body that is confronting this at that level.
Yeah.
And we're bringing in the higher consciousness while also offering energy to the vessel.
Ooh, breathe that in with love.
And one of the things Kara just mentioned that we found so nourishing were daily Epsom salt baths.
Sometimes twice a day.
Now, taking a bath is
Yeah.
lovely, and essential oils, etc. However, Epsom salts bring in extra magnesium. They relax the tissues. It has a cleansing effect, and it really supported us to walk through the experience with greater ease and a feeling of being supported. Because remember, the emotional body is either your ally or it'll suck you into a greater challenge. We need to feel that we're safe and okay.
Yeah.
So give that to yourself through the bath, through the beautiful music, through watching funny movies. Do what lifts
Read, go outside. And I will share with you that what we did discover is I would take our Epsom salt, and I mean a lot. We were doing like 2 cups per bath. And I would add cardamom oil. I found to be extremely potent. Now, this was really high-grade cardamom oil, essential oil that you could also use in recipes, so it was that high grade. And I would put in a good amount of cardamom oil and mint oil, peppermint oil, and the blend of cardamom and mint. And I would just take a little plastic container of our Epsom salt with our measured 2 cups, and I would put in what I felt like. I didn't even have a drop amount. Sometimes it was heavier on one, sometimes it wasn't. And I would stir it with a wooden spoon, and I would stir in our restoration and our vitality. And then I would stir that in an infinite symbol into the tub before we got in. And we found that to be extremely nourishing. Yeah.
So as we're coming to a close today, I want to bring some attention to one more thing that ties into these questions.
This is an important question. I want to respond to that really quickly.
Yeah. And that is the word forgiveness. This ties into the family.
Yeah, and we're gonna answer one more question as well.
So let me just tee this up, and then we'll move to that question. It's important to recognize that forgiveness is the energy of release, meaning I'm shifting from a place of feeling victimized or hurt into an ascended perspective that recognizes that we all did the best we knew how, given the state of consciousness we were in at that time. There was a moment of interaction that reflected the stress of the moment, the consciousness of the moment. And when we can breathe and step back from the picture a little bit, we can then release it.
And I got to jump in because we're going to run out of time, and it really ties in with 3 questions.
Go for it.
So I want to jump in that this final question I want to get out there so that you know what we're responding to says, can cutting a family cord that we have a contract with affect our journey? Okay, I want to go back also to Angel of Cups and all the others that we're talking about, those who have harmed you, and the COVID, if you've been experiencing COVID for a year. All of this ties together into this one family thing. And I will share this with you from a very personal level. These past 2 days, I had to cancel appointments. I was back in bed, and my lungs were severely calling me. My throat was severely calling me. And it was, by density, it would say it was a relapse of something, although I have no other, I'm not testing for anything other than it was just what my body was experiencing. What I discovered during that time was that buried very deeply in my lungs was grief that I really never had a father or a family, that I never in this lifetime had the blessing of that type of experience. And while on the surface of all that is and deep within and for all of the Divine Mastery Presence integration, it was my physical body that called me back in through the experience of a COVIDing or through a virusing, that said, hey, I know that you are here, but there's still something going on in here that I would like you to look at.
Yeah.
And so there are no such things as contracts. Let go of that belief system. That's a whole show we could do on the fallacy of the belief that you have a contract. What you are is the blessing of expanding consciousness, that in this realm of experience and potentiality, aligned with these beings through the sacred sequence of incarnation. Please learn ascended numerology. Understand the sacred sequence of incarnation. That through the sacred sequence of incarnation, you were received into the energy of a vast potentiality of those that would serve specifically the reasons for incarnation of your conscious expansion in this moment. Think outside the limitations of dogma as we are in the alchemical transformation right now that will restore you outside of all belief systems, and through the forgiveness and density Get Shri's forgiveness practice. It's at our website. Give yourself the blessing of remembrance, because this full moon, this moment matters. Be here next Sunday. And hey, if you're not part of Monday Magic, make sure you are. Get ShriandKira.com and be there next Monday as well, because this is a big one, guys. And the article will be up when, Shri?
Oh, in 30 minutes from now.
There you go. So 30 minutes from this live broadcast, go check out that article as well. Really important.
It's important, beloved ones, to use the tools of energy. And it begins with your breath.
Yes.
When we choose to breathe deeply, when we choose to say, I see the divine at work in my life. I may not understand, but I am trusting that the divine hand is at work. We begin to quiet the waters.
Yes.
We begin to lift out of density addiction. Because it's nothing more than that. And as we use new language, as we begin to train our brain to detach from the old Velcro, we're going to find that the world of joy is available. The world of instantaneous manifestation becomes our operating reality.
Right now.
All of this is available as we relax the addiction to the paradigms that we have outgrown but have not yet cast off.
Oh, I love it, and we love you. Go to ShriandKira.com, learn about everything that's happening, and know that we love you dearly and look forward to being with you every week.
So let's take a breath.